Hello guys, and we finally made it to this video, and let's get right to it. So the first part of Diabolic ClubStep, there isn't anything really special about this part, but it introduces some of the backgrounds which will be used in the entire level in all the next parts. For example, this background, which is basically a filler to make the level look less empty. So yeah, this is it. This is the entire thing, and it's on these groups. I think 186 is the one that moves the entire thing. So yeah, I guess it is that. So this thing keeps moving to the right and up or down sometimes throughout the entire level to make sure it's not empty. Now next, oh wait, I forgot. Yeah, so I tried to use as few objects as I could to make this background. You see, it's pretty complex, but it doesn't take up way too many objects. Well, yeah, that's it. Next, we have. I decided to add some additional glow on the left and right. So there are two types of glow. So this glow is dark. It's black and is used in black parts. Not black. It's used in dark parts. And there's also this glow which is used in the first wave. And the color is LBG, as you can see. The glow objects are scaled up to 4x scale. Yeah, this huge square object is still there. This is the most scale hacked object in the level, and it's used to hide the effect which is caused by changing size. Like if you become a mini cube, for example, the background pulses white, and this black square on the background, which is also moving, it makes this flash invisible. So the entire level looks like the background of the level is black despite all the size changes. Next, so we have these objects which I scaled up. So yeah, there isn't really anything special. Yeah, so in this part I could use like these objects, but I went with the slab, which is double scaled. So yeah, in this part, this is one object, but it's double the size as the regular one. And I guess that's it for this part. Next, this ship, the background is spikes scaled up. This thing is just one object. The glow here, the glow is this, like the glow for slopes. but I made it horizontal. And this object is like longer than this one, so it takes up more space. And this one is this. This is the longest object, the longest glow object you can use. And this is the ceiling, and the bottom is the same in this regard. These things are let me show you. These stripes are made out of this object scaled up to 3.35. So this is, for example, for this structure, it's only 2 objects. And I think, this glow, I could optimize it better, but it has a different brightness, different HSV values, so I can't for this part. And the next cube, once again, it uses some scale hacked glow, like in this part too. It uses some scale hacked black squares, and these objects are scaled up, and I think the thicker outline makes this part feel somewhat unique, you could say. I think it adds more variety to the level. Yeah, and these objects are scale hacked as well. A lot of the features I used are gonna be the same throughout the entire level, so don't be surprised about this. I added these objects after the showcase, and they are of course scaled up. And like in this part, there is this decoration element which I have reworked, and it used to be squares in this part, but it's slabs scaled up now. And the glow is this one. This object scaled up to 2x scale. I used the thinner one because obviously when you scale it up, it gets thicker. It gets as thick as this one, so it works just fine. So it's the same for all of these elements, but as you can see, I didn't place all of the slabs because, for example, in this style, you cannot see the decoration, so there's no use putting a slab here. And I used this technique to save up on objects. These brick objects are. This is a pretty interesting technique. It's these 3D bricks, and I got inspired by the backgrounds in the first job of Duello Maestro, which utilizes these 3D objects in kind of the same way. And all of these brick objects are obviously scaled up as well, and this glow is just one object. This glow is just this is the least thin glow object you can get, and I'm pretty sure it's scaled to 4x, no 3x, okay. And this is also scaled hacked. This is just particles. I wanted to show you this thing. This is this rectangle, and it's scaled up and it's black. So yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about this. So let's just move on. This part is probably the most optimized one, because all of this glow and all of these like these objects used to be just squares, normal size squares, but now, as you can see, it's just rectangles. These ones as well. And this glow is just the longest and the most thin glow object, scaled up quite a bit, but not to the point where it doesn't look natural. So I've done this to the entire part, and there's some more to this part, I believe. Just let me find something else. Oh, yeah, I want to say this. Take a look at this. All of these objects, all of these squares, spikes, and blue and yellow pads, none of these objects are like out of bounds. Like you can't see every single square and spike. There's not a single one you cannot see. There's not a single one that doesn't show up on the screen. So yeah, so this is just some additional decoration here. I guess that's it for this part. In this part, since it goes black, there's literally no decoration, because you just cannot see it. In this part, gameplay wise, there is not a single object that's not useful. This spike could be deleted, but if I do delete it, you would like fall to the abyss, and that would probably be annoying. So let's just move on to the wave part, which has some scaled up spikes like this one. It's scaled up, and once again, you cannot see anything below this spike, so this part just has nothing. And same for this part, you cannot see anything up this spike. And of course, I filled the black space with some scaled up objects. And these ones are just very scale hacked. The floor and ceiling in this wave part are made out of spikes, which are scaled up 4 times. And they don't really look scaled up, because I moved them. I moved the lower spikes. I moved the floor spikes lower and the ceiling spikes higher, so they don't look scale hacked in the part. And there's also this glow. This glow is once again not the thickest one, and it's a long one. It's a slope thing, which if placed horizontally takes up more space than this glow object. So yeah, these squares which make the background kind of more diverse in terms of colors. These are all scaled up. They're double the size. Next, we have these sublays, which I also added recently. And in this part, of course, the black glow is also scaled up. These squares are the same. And for these spikes, I made sure there isn't a spike you cannot see. So if I move this slope down, for example, there's nothing beneath this spike. And if I move it back here, it doesn't look weird. So yeah. In this part, of course, the objects that fill up the space are all scale hacked, most of them. But I had to add some additional ones because of this complex background I added to the level. It was like the background was visible like in this part, which looked weird, so I had to hide this with these additional objects. And there's also the black glow that is also scale hacked. And I added these slopes, but they're fine. Take a look at this demon face. This is just a singular square. And so is this one, and so is this one too. All of these are just one single object. Now this ship, the clouds are obviously scaled up. And this is where it gets interesting. Now, remember how these things kind of looked like they were fake, but now they don't. And as you can see, it's kind of difficult for me to pick up these two objects, and if I click on them, it shows that this one is used, this object is used. And the question arises, how is it possible to get past this part? Because if you go up, you die. And the answer to this is scale hack. So apparently, if for some objects, if they have negative size, for example, for this object, as you can see, it says scale -1. For some objects, when they have negative size, their hitboxes become different. So let me show you. Let's move this object out of the structure, and this blue dot is the entire hitbox of this object. Therefore, this object does not kill you when you go through it. And I used this technique for quite a few objects in this part, and this is not the only part where I used this technique. For example, this object, as you can see, it's difficult to pick because it's a scale hacked object. So we check its size and it's -1, and it doesn't kill you either. Neither does this spike, which is also -1 scale. And the hitbox of this spike is behind the slope, as you can see. As you will be able to see, the hitbox of this spike is just this red dot. So I moved the spike away, and the dot moved accordingly. And I'm pretty sure that's not it for this part. Well, actually it is. So let me just explain. To imitate these slabs, in the past I had to use like 10 objects for each one to replicate the texture of this slab, slab, I'm sorry. I had to use 10 objects to replicate the texture of this slab, but now I only needed one object. And also, additionally, you cannot see anything below these below this spike, this one. This is why there is not a spike in the bottom of this structure, because you cannot see it in the level. And same goes for this spike. I could just copy paste it and move it down 2 tiles, but it's just not visible here. And same goes for this structure, and this one as well. Now this part, as you could probably see, these objects, these decoration elements, kind of I don't really know how to explain it, but they change colors. Except it's not visible in the level editor. As you can see, if I just playtest, no matter which other option I use, it doesn't do anything. It looks like they all are one specific color, and there's not a single trigger that makes these objects change their colors. But in actuality, you don't have to use triggers to make certain objects change their colors. There's this technique I used, which is using two color channels that copy each other as you can see here. These color channels copy each other, and the hue is different. It's slightly different if it's negative 0.4. This effect doesn't work anymore. And if it's less than that, but if it's for example negative 0.2, the effect would be like more intense. So these objects are like rainbow colored. They change colors, like they cycle through hues. Like, let me show you this spike. So they cycle through hues like that, because these two color channels just copy each other. So it's a weird feature that I used. And for this part, there's nothing much I've done in terms of optimization, but I think I can find something. For example, once again I used some double scaled stripes to make this part look more unique. And the fact the stripes have color with blending, it makes this part look even more unique. Like, the center of this structure is like bright, and I think it looks unique. For these objects, let me show you. For these objects, I added some additional decoration to make it look less empty, which is just this object, and it's this. But I could use a different object, namely this one. But they look practically the same, and this object takes twice as much space as the one that I just deleted. So yeah, pretty basic technique. Scale hacked glow again. This is just these objects. No, not here. These objects scaled up. And this glow is fine. Yeah, and clouds as well. There's nothing really special about this single part, so let's just move on. In this ball part, there's this background, which, once again, there's not a single object you cannot see when you play the level. So for example, here you cannot see these objects. So I didn't put them here. For these slopes, this the background of this entire structure is just 4 squares. This is just 1 square, and same goes for these 2 other structures. This glow is of course scale hacked, and it's not the thickest one, and it's the longest one, to make sure it fills up more space once again. This is just scaled up sublays, and scaled up glow objects. And yeah, this is just one object. As you can see, the regular this regular slope glow object takes up in its original position, it takes up only two tiles horizontally, but I managed to make it take up, let me count, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, basically 10 tiles horizontally. This is all you can do with scale hack. This is just spikes. This is just four objects. I could actually use this object here, but it's way too thick, so I didn't. This is scaled up. In this part, these stripes are made out of these objects scaled up. And this glow is also scale hacked, as usual. So there's also something special about this part. The backgrounds here are of course they consist of scale hacked objects. In this part, there are some more particles again, and in this part I again used this technique of making the objects have negative size. So some of the spikes here used to be like these fake spikes, but I replaced them with negative size spikes. So I saved one object from every single replaced spike in this part. And the glow here and the ceiling in the bottom is of course scale hacked, as well as the particles. And these objects are also scale hacked. So yeah, that's it for the ball part. Next comes the ship part. This is probably the most object dense part in the level because of the concept of this part. It's meant to be messy, so it needs to have a lot of objects. And I made this interesting. I gave this part an interesting look by adding these black slopes, these animated objects, and these iceberg-like spikes, which are also black. So yeah, particles again. Once again, scale hacked glow. And this is just 3D objects rotated, but it's nothing serious. Yeah. This part also has black slopes, and these slopes are scaled up, as you can see. In this part, these stripes these stripes are just that. So if you just take this stripe and rotate it, and use this stripe and rotate it as well, you can see that it is a little longer. And if I use this stripe, this decoration would take 3 objects instead of 2. And this part once again uses these black slopes as well as the UFO. And once again it introduces some scale hacked, not scale hacked but scaled up spikes, which look completely natural. So let's see if there's anything special about this part I didn't mention. Nothing. Now this UFO part, the slopes in this UFO are bigger. And in this UFO, as you can see in the showcase, you could easily see these stripes they used the same hue cycling effect, and it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. These stripes are just 3 objects. It's just this slab, again scale hack glow, scaled up stripes in this part, scaled up slabs once again. This level really just uses the exact same techniques all over again. Scaled up objects, the slopes, of course, and I forgot to mention something. Let's go back to the wave part. So I made it. I finally realized how to use spawn triggers, so this is almost the entire thing that makes the pulses in this part. This is all that I used, except for these color triggers, which are insignificant. Oh yeah, and these ones as well. So I used some spawn triggers in the level, for example, in this part as well. So my logotype flickers, I think I mentioned this in one of my earlier update videos. So yeah, I used the spawn trigger in the UFO part as well, but I added a new one. It wasn't present in old version. So yeah. These objects are pretty scale hacked, and to make sure the outline doesn't look weird, I added these stripe objects, black stripe objects, and it looks like the outline is the same thickness throughout the whole thing, but in actuality it's not. And it takes up less objects. So this is the same thing as this one. once again some scaled up objects. I used a slope here because a regular slope takes up 2 tiles horizontally, so it takes up more space while still being just one object. So let's see what else we have. Nothing special so far. I guess that's it for the UFO. This is some skill hacked glow here. In this part there's this background which is barely visible, and as you progress through the part, the background goes darker, and at this point it becomes barely visible. So I deleted a lot of these objects which you cannot see, for example in tiles that are filled with the obstacles, I mean with the structures. So this part has an empty background, but I think that's a nice transition to the ship part, which literally one of the reasons why it exists is for the level to have less objects, because it's just completely black. It almost has nothing to it besides the sublays, and the sublays themselves are very dark. Yeah, in this part once again the spikes are scaled up, and the black objects that fill up the space are scaled up as well. And this is just one object. So this all is obviously scale hacked. This glow is too. And this part, for this slope, I used the exact same technique. So show hitboxes, and this slope has nothing. However, it costs the exact same amount of objects as the slope that was used previously. But I think that it just makes this part a bit more logical. Like, every single slope now in this part looks the same, except that this slope doesn't have these spikes on top. But I think the absence of this spike is an indicator of the fact that the slope is just doesn't have a hitbox. So yeah. And again, there's not a single object you cannot see. This ship is just it uses some scaled up spikes and skill hacked filler objects, as you can see, and the glow objects here are optimized. So this is horizontally 5 tiles, but only 2 glow objects are used. And when the glow objects overlap, it's fine because they don't use a color with blending. I know it's a thing to use glow without blending, but honestly in this part it doesn't look bad at all. So I used this technique. This is just glow to give the portals a unique look. the slopes are scaled up. These objects are just one object and an extra one put on top for more details purpose. This is only 2 objects because I used scale hack. These stripes are scaled up. You see, I keep repeating myself because I used the exact same techniques for the entire level. So yeah, for this part, as you can see, this looks like 2 glow objects, but it's actually 1. It's just this is just this slope glow object horizontal. My English sucks right now. I'm sorry. But yeah. So I never changed the look of this part, like from this layer perspective. So whenever I see that this looks like 2 glow objects put next to each other, I replace them with just 1 object. Yeah. This part, it's also like one of the parts that doesn't take up a lot of objects, and it is also one of the parts where I use the negative size feature. Except it's not used everywhere. For example, these spikes don't kill you naturally, except if you jump, which you're not supposed to anyway. So, you see, this is where the hitboxes of these spikes are located. So, you just pass through them. And it looks like as if it were supposed to be like that. So this is just 1 object. The glow here is double scaled everywhere, almost everywhere. This is just 1 object. This is just a special outline, which is this. And in this part, once again, the outlines are thicker. So every single object with an outline is double the size as the regular one. And I also added some glow to this part, but there is not a single glow object you cannot see once again. All of these glow objects are visible. And of course I used the corner glow object, because why not? Some of these spikes don't have this black thing on the bottom of them, because they are just covered with the rainbow objects, which are dark. And I guess this is it for this part. It's just black. Yeah, and these dots, these dot objects are actually from the subway tab, so they rotate. I got inspiration from authors for them. Yeah, and when it comes to text, let's go back to this part, and also I forgot to show you this. This is not slopes. This is not a slope. Not a regular one, at least. It's the 3D object. So yeah, what I actually wanted to show you is this text. So let's take this for example. This is just two objects. The L letter, the E letter is just two. No, it's actually three. It's three objects. And the H is just two objects. And this object is this. And for this, text I couldn't optimize because otherwise it would have a hitbox. And it's not supposed to have a hitbox, so yeah. But this text, some of the letters here have hitboxes because that was the cheapest way. So the E letter is just two objects here. The N is just two objects. This object is the same that I showed recently. The D is just three objects. The O is three objects. The F is two. The T is two. The H is two again. The E is two. The W is four. The A is three. The Y is two. Next comes the rainbow ship that some people didn't like. So once again, there is one scale hacked object which covers the entire thing, and there is also some scale hacked glow. And if I remove this object, if I remove the slope, you can see that some spikes are absent, and it's because they are invisible. Once again, so these slopes are just scale hacked. This is just 6 objects. That's it for this part, and this ball part has this background which is just 8 objects. And it also uses some scaled up spikes, and the spike position in this part is the exact same. Like, it has the exact same amount of bushes as before. And in the UFO you can see that I only used the spikes where they are visible. So, for example, this bush is visible simply because there's this object. And the space over here is empty because there's nothing that makes it look like there has to be a spike. So, unfortunately for these spikes, I wasn't able to replace them with negative size spikes but I was able to for this one. So the top spike here, as you can see, it has a weird headbox, because this one I can pick up easily and this one I can't. It has negative size, but it doesn't kill you. So I had to like move on with just these fake spikes. This is some scaled up glow. And that's it, but I used spawn triggers in this part as well. So next is the UFO. Yeah, there isn't anything really special about this UFO part. In this cube part, this background I added recently. These glow objects are regular ones, because that was the simplest way for me. These are just regular hexagons, because they have different HSV values once again. And we made it to the most interesting part, the wave. The final wave, as you can see, it kind of looks different. Like, the outlines are thicker, and there's one sole reason for this. And the reason is using less objects. So we take this slope. We take this single structure. This is only 7 objects, as opposed to 32 before. Everything that I've picked up, that I've selected, used to be 32 objects, but now it's 7, and it's just this one single structure. And this is just pretty scale hacked object, a pretty scale hacked slope. This one, which looks like a stripe, and this object is just this thing, but rotated like this. And there are no problems with the fade effects with this part, because I used fade effects for nearly every part in the level, but not this one. This one is special for not having a fade effect, as you can see. So that's the slopes, but for the inside decoration, these glow objects are hacked. This is a scale hacked thing. So are these slopes. This is just 3 objects, and this is just rectangles, which were previously used in the level. And for this structure, because the inside of it is only 2 tiles vertically, I had to use a different method of filling up the space. And I used these slabs, scaled up twice. So these objects are just that. And I've reworked the background for this wave to make it less empty. So it has a pretty interesting look. And that's pretty much it for this wave part. And of course, I made sure there are no objects that you cannot see in the level. So once again, around this part you cannot see anything. So this is empty. Now for these little slopes. This thing is just one object. It's just a square rotated like this. So yeah, it takes up less objects, of course. And unfortunately, this single structure isn't optimized because these slopes are a little scaled up to increase the difficulty of the level. But if they were the regular size, I would in fact optimize this structure as well. But I see no point in doing this at this point in time, because I think the level looks pretty good now. Yeah. Also, these objects are one of the earlier ones. This is one of my earliest ideas for the update of the decoration. When I was playing Unnerved Innards, I got inspired and I tried to replicate this decoration element from it, and I think it looks a little different in my level, but it also looks pretty unique, I think. And this part of the wave is probably even more interesting. This is probably the craziest decision I've ever made. So this object is just this. This entire thing is just one object. So basically, I'm lucky that this stripe thing is just very thin. So it can be scaled up a lot. And it's actually not. This one is the red one, and this one is the black one, to make sure the part doesn't look weird. Yeah, so this doesn't take up a lot of objects. Look, it's just 14. So as for the hitboxes, I made sure that all of the hitboxes here make sense. For example, here there aren't any. because the hitboxes here wouldn't kill you, but this one would. And these objects that make the hitboxes are invisible actually, and that opens up this interesting opportunity to make this single part not so difficult, because I can move this object elsewhere, and this gap was originally 0.5 space, but it isn't anymore because I moved this object up and this object down, and it kind of looks like you go inside the structure, but it's the same for spikes, so it's okay in this game, I think. For this object, I had to go with slopes because they have hitboxes. What else do we have? We have these objects. This is the object I use for this decoration, and it's a little bit scaled up as well. This object again, but it's not as big this time. So that's it. In this part, I added some additional decoration, and this is just one object. These squares are just scaled up. All of this is just one single square. And you can see the stripes inside some of these spikes. I mean, this stripe, for example, and it's just one object. It's just this object. Yeah, and fun fact, this thing is not a spike. It is a slope. And it's only used for difficulty purpose. It is literally a slope. Yeah, just a fun fact. So the glow objects here are a scale hat, and these slabs were originally just regular size square objects, but I also added these brick slopes to give this part a different look. Yeah, in this part, scaled up glow. These squares again, but these ones are pulsing. And for this part, there's nothing really special. But when you go to this part, you see a huge saw blaze, and it only takes two objects to fix the secret way of the level. Yeah, so the UFO has some scaled up glow. This is just a huge question mark. This glow could be optimized, but it's hard to optimize, especially because it uses a blending color. And I also removed the spike, which was originally here. So the part used to look like this, but this spike isn't really necessary because, for one, it's not visible, and for two, if you go inside the question mark, you will die anyways. Because the only way out of the UFO is to go up. And I also fixed this skip. Like, in the old version, you could just activate the yellow portal, and if you do the timings right, you would be able to survive. But now, you're not able to. But this is not about optimization. What about optimization is, for example, this glow, the same slope, glow again, and yeah. So for this, for these decoration elements, you see that there are no objects here because the saw blade is on top of them. So you cannot see the objects here, and I removed them. I added some glow here, which is also scale hacked. This is scale hacked as well. These saw blades are too. And this part is also optimized. This is just the thinnest and the longest glow object scaled up. So this used to be 5 objects, but now it's only 1. And in this part, once again I used these rectangles, which take up 3 tiles. And I once again used this technique with a negative size spikes. These spikes on top of each of these structures used to be a fake one, but now it's a negative size one. So you see the dot, so it's negative size. And because of the negative size, this timing became a little hard, but it's not too bad. So this is the final part. There is no spike here because you cannot see it. And this glow is also scale hacked. And the glow in the wave part, this glow is also scale hacked. But let's go back here. So this is it. So that's it. This is the whole level. I think I showed you all of the basic features I used to make it look good while being only 20k objects. and this video turned out to be way longer than I expected, so I'm sorry for that. Alright, my hand hurts from holding the phone. So, see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.